When we talk of democracy, we think of it as a form of governance. We think of it as a given. Either you are a democratic country or you're not a democratic country. We sometimes measure democracy along a sliding scale about how democratic you are based on a couple of parameters. But you have spoken about the idea of democracy as something that has to be continuously cultivated. Cultivation is something that goes in cycles. It requires a certain kind of toil. It requires you to get your hands dirty. I want you to talk a little bit about this metaphor.
Thank you, Pragya. I think it's a metaphor that comes really out of doing fieldwork in rural India, where people are literally cultivating crops, right? And to think about what that process is and whether we can make it a metaphor to productively think about democracy. Just like you said, there's an institutional framework of democracy. There should be free and fair elections. There should be separation of powers, should be a rule of law. There should be a free media, freedom of expression, etc. And we work with this sort of checklist, right? Does this country have these things? And if it does, then it's a democracy. Now, the problem with that argument and that kind of vision of democracy is that we then don't have any explanation for what is happening at the moment. In 2025, if you look at all those established democracies, whether in Europe, North America, India, these are democracies that are in serious trouble. What happened? If democracy is just a set of institutions you need to kind of install in context, and then it's going to flourish, clearly there's something wrong with thinking about democracy in those ways. And pushing back against that, what I tried to argue is that it's a dynamic process. It's just like you were saying, it takes toil. It's something you're trying to grow. You have to look after it. You have to work hard, be vigilant about any degeneration that is occurring in it. It is a process of continual cultivation. You have to preserve these democratic cultures that those institutions are meant to institutionalize. And so the opposite of cultivation then becomes complacency.